It's Christmas time. Let's go.
That we gotta change up that tarp soft photo in the intro.
If anybody wants to know how important Dakota Josh was to the Vancouver Canucks, that was the game. Okay, so condiments. This is everything.
Everything. So we run the gamut completely, right?
I'm talking about sriracha on the bottle.
Sriracha?
Sriracha. It's that silent R that screws me up.
Is it a silent R?
I don't know. Like, who's tall?
Who's tall?
Chris Pronger, wasn't he tall?
Chris Pronger was tall. Yeah.
Welcome to the PP1 Podcast.
Are you kidding me? That's what?
I got a good one. Check this out.
I can't hear that. Wow.
It says -1 viewers somehow on our show. I don't know how that's possible. I don't know. I really thought that was going to take off. Oh, well. Welcome to the PP1 Podcast. It's Ryan and Ted. Saturday morning. We've never... Actually, now I can say we've never. It's been a while. A breakfast or a brunch show.
Saturday mornings are reserved for cartoons.
That's true. They are. There's also NFL football on today, which I forgot about. So this almost didn't happen. Just because... How do you get up off the couch and you're like, well, my day's set already? But here we are. We're here for you. Welcome to the show, Ted. Sounds like you had a really good Christmas party last night. You are riding high.
It wasn't last night. It was last week. But yeah, we did pretty good.
But you're maybe like feeling the vibe a week later.
They had the karaoke set up. That was a lot. But yeah, they did the big gift exchange thing, and you get to steal a gift, and you can steal it up to 3 times before you can't steal it anymore. And I got a PS5 out of the deal, so I'm pretty stoked.
I didn't.
We have to be there for starters, I feel like.
Yeah, that would probably be part of it. I'd have to work also with you, so but I don't, and that's okay.
That'd be fun.
We gotta, you know what? We haven't technically worked together. We've worked at the same company, but never together.
Yeah.
Which is something. Oh, well.
I wouldn't want to like swoop in out of nowhere and steal your sale or something like that.
I don't think you could. I think I could. I think get on my ground. How are things, man? We're like almost at Christmas here. Do you got all your shopping done?
No.
Cool. Me neither.
I don't have like a ton to do. I just got to go, I think, pick up like one more thing, I think, for the oldest daughter. And then got Christy's stocking. So yeah.
Gotcha.
All the heavy lifting done. It's just the perusal around stuff. Like, you know.
I got to do an outing today and get some stuff done. I should also say for taking care of the business side of things, we're sponsored by the Hockey Podcast Network, DraftKings Pick 6, and Game Time. We'll get into those a little bit later. Christmas gifts are basically, that's not my department. So I just got to take care of a few little things today.
Anything that's involved with Christmas gift giving? Yeah,
basically. I've got a crew of 1. And it gets done. And that's all that matters. So we're fine. Yeah, she's the entire department. So it's a lot is expected of me elsewhere then. So I make sure everything else is getting done. So it's fine. It's fine. We're good. I'm happy with it. It's going to be an awesome Christmas. I can't wait. Not a lot of snow, so might get to do some golfing in the backyard without having to worry about the elements. It's kind of foggy, so that's fun. That's something I could do.
Yeah.
Or maybe I'll be slinging merch. So our first T-shirt came out from Mulligan Golf. It's pretty banging. It's I didn't bring it downstairs because I was in a hurry to get this thing started. But you can check my Instagram and Twitter and make sure that you guys see that they're for sale, but they're already moving. Things are going. We're a success story. Little golf company out of Kelowna. It's good times.
Yeah.
But let's talk we got Canucks. We got some stuff. We're going to get into some Christmassy things as well, like we usually do. I don't think we're going to have a guest because it's Saturday morning and most people are just like, well, I got stuff to do. You know, they're getting their shopping done. So let's talk about what happened in the last little week. The Canucks had an awesome game against Boston. We all remember that. It was a dud. I, in fact, turned it off after the second period and watched Mission Impossible, the new one, because that's where my head was at that point. It was awful. And then I saw that we scored 1 goal, and I thought, wow, that's great. Then they go and they play Colorado. And Colorado's the Monday game, right? And basically one of the best games, if not the best game of the season. Canucks look absolutely dominant. Quinn Hughes was Quinn Hughesing.
They had it together.
Yeah, it was just absolutely dynamite. And then who else did we have this week? We had
Utah and we had Vegas.
Utah. Yeah, Utah was an absolute sleeper. I mean, after the first period, we're all like, if something happened, that'd be great. That'd be awesome. And then the Vegas game, well, we don't need to talk about that.
Yeah, they go. December's been an odd month, right? So they go 2-3 on that previous homestand, starting with Columbus, right? So they get wins in Columbus and Florida. The Florida game looked awesome.
That was fun.
They haven't looked good at home for a while. They've looked like road warriors, right? They've looked awesome. You said obviously that dud to Boston, but then
which was tough to swallow. It's never easy losing to that team.
But their wins, they look good in their wins. They look good in Columbus. They look good versus Florida. They look really good versus Colorado, right?
Yeah.
And like you can take a dud, like whatever. But then like they've had duds this season that have kind of made them look like they're not the real deal, right? And so they go out on the little mini road trip here, and we got Utah and Vegas back to back. Obviously, it's back to back, so you think you got to get one of those. They get a point out of it, but I'd say that this was a bit of a failure on the road this week.
Yeah.
Just because you really feel like you had it locked up in Utah. It's a pesky team, Utah. They're pretty fun to watch. I don't know why they weren't fun to watch before, but they are now.
It's probably because they're in Utah now.
That might have something to do with it.
Yeah, it's probably because there's 6,000 people in the stadium instead of 4.
You get all these guys like seemingly pulled from purgatory.
Yeah. I mean, it's good. You re-energize a franchise, right?
Yeah. And I guess that's a real thing. I just never really considered it, right? But it is. And then they lose this game to Vegas, which by and large, I thought that they had a chance to win. And there was 3 crazy saves by what's his face? I can't remember.
Lankinen.
No, not Lankinen.
Both goalies were crazy in that game.
Like just crazy 5-alarm stuff. That blocker save that glove save on the line by Aiden Hill, and then obviously the glove save
the paddle
by Lankinen with the paddle save by Lankinen. It was just insane. Lucky, obviously, but you got to get.
Oh yeah.
But I really they needed to get one of those games and lost out on that, right? So we got Ottawa tonight, and another little mini homestand here before the break. But we'll see, right? I mean, what are they now? They went from being this wicked road team to a team that can't win at home to getting really good wins against some really good teams and then dropping duds to teams that aren't very good.
It's like kind of like the old Canucks, right?
Yeah, it's weird.
They play down to an opponent, and then they play up to where they're supposed to be, or then they reverse it, and then they're playing good against kind of the bad teams and bad against the good team. Like they've kind of been topsy-turvy this year. Like there's no, I heard it somewhere else, like they're consistently inconsistent, which I've been saying for years, but that's kind of what they've been this year. Like there hasn't really been. Yeah. Well, consistent on the road. Yeah.
Yeah. And even that's now starting to get weird, right? So they gotta dial their shit in a little bit here. And yeah, there's obviously lots of weird news topics to talk about too. Like, I don't know.
Yeah, we got a little bit of stuff. Obviously I want to get into first and foremost, like the Sherwood special. Kiefer Sherwood natural hat trick, which, man, every now and then when one of these comes around, right, it was something that, you score 2 goals, and then when he's got the hat trick, you're like, is he going to score 4? Like it was that kind of a game, right? And he just looked so good. The breakaway goal, Shorty, was awesome. He just, it's fun to have fun. And Kiefer Sherwood is having fun. He's scoring goals. He's mutilating guys on the ice every time he steps on it. And he's a difference maker. He's I guess when things aren't going well with maybe Connor Garland or Joshua actually had a good game too. But he's kind of stepping up when some of the other guys aren't quite stepping up. Like it's the role players right now are kind of stepping up a little bit while the stars aren't quite. I mean, aside from Quinn Hughes, those guys are kind of making waves, I guess. So it's typical Canucks. They find a guy that they love like that, and now next thing we know, we're going to be thinking like, geez, once this contract is over with Sherwood, we're going to really have to pay up for this guy.
Yeah. He's looked so good. Like I can't remember what it was. He'd scored his 10th or his 9th or something like that, and he had gotten to it 32 games earlier than he had the previous season too, right? I mean, obviously it helps that
that's a miss on Nashville big time.
Sure. Yeah, and I think if they could do it over again, they'd look to employ his services, right? They kind of gone about it in a weird way. I mean, he's like 11 goals, 7 assists, and 18 points right now in 32 games played. Like he's on pace for some pretty healthy seasons, and a lot of it would have had to do with the fact that he's had to spend a lot of time on those top 6 units. Because of injuries, right? But I think he's part of the reason why this team has been able to tread water. Aside from the fact that he's just like such a pain in the ass to play against, right? I mean, he's got a little bit of Ryan Kessler in him. He's got a little bit of Matt Cook in him. He's got a little bit of Rafi Torres in him too, right? But this guy has got some offensive touch. So super, super good find, obviously, by Vancouver on this one. Really, really
absolutely fun.
Yeah, he's worked out better than the Danton Heinen signing, which to his credit hasn't been bad either.
I mean, even that hasn't been terrible, I think, because he's been injured though too, hasn't he?
I mean, Heinen's played 32 games, so he's been.
Hasn't he? Oh, maybe I'm not paying attention to him. And maybe there's your point. If I haven't noticed that much, it's probably a problem. Well, I think we're going to be getting into, and I'm actually surprised that they didn't make a move before Christmas, and maybe it's just because they just felt they didn't want to make a move and upset the apple cart before. Oh, I'm sure they did. But I mean, the big talk earlier this week was somehow Elias Pettersson getting traded, or that he should be traded, or whatever that looks like, because there's a riff in the locker room. Apparently there's been a riff in the locker room for a while, but only in the sense that two guys aren't necessarily getting along, in the sense that it's not kumbaya. So, I mean, Elliot Friedman, guy's good at what he does, man. Whether there's any truth to, and I mean, there probably is a little bit. I'm sure agents leak a little bit here and like, hey, could you maybe drum things up and get something started in the media? It was a pretty big week talking about Elias Pettersson and JT Miller and the whole dynamic of that in the last couple of years, and how when Miller was out, Pettersson was doing so well, and then Miller comes back and he's not doing as well. And then you think back to the point, and I just finished the Canucks at the draft, that book by oh my gosh, Daniel Wagner from Pascagoula, and Dan Murphy had a forward at the beginning. It's a great book, and it just goes to show, I mean, how the Canucks have absolutely bombed at the draft, been screwed at it early on, just bad luck, then some really good luck at the end, obviously. Yeah. But all these trades, you bring up Cam Neely, there's a few other ones in there. History says that when you trade that guy, things don't end up very well for the Canucks. And there is a massive, massive history pattern of seeing this fall apart. Could they trade him? If they were going to, it can't be for, up and coming guys. Like, they're going to need to make a hockey trade, like a Dylan Larkin for Elias Pettersson, like that kind of an ilk trade. Like, there has to be value for value, like a change of scenery for both guys that are of, I mean, it's tough to say who's equal, because I don't know what Petey is right now. Like, what is the true value? Not what he's done so far, but where he's been going in the last year or so. Like, what is the true value? If we're going to talk about it, let's have a little fun. Like, what is Elias Pettersson's worth outward, and what would you expect the Canucks to get back? I mean,
he's not a slouch, right? I mean, he's still got 26 points in 32 games. Like, he's not nothing. He's still a very good player, right? I mean, and I think it sort of speaks to and I'm not trying to just goat your question or skirt your question altogether here, but like, his value is not as high as what his value should be because he's not playing at an elite level right now. And that's the exact reason why you can't trade him. Like, it's too bad. Obviously, we're starting the show a little bit late, and I'm sure this has been talked about a million times already. But, ask Buffalo how that trade worked out for them.
Yeah.
Right? I mean, I think that they would – and granted, there's some issues there, and – management had soured on the relationship with Eichel, and he wasn't happy with how they were dealing with them, and doctors and back and bringing stuff in for a second opinions and stuff like that. And their hand was forced a little bit to the fact that they had to move him, right? Like,
yeah.
So they get an NHLer and a high end prospect back. I can't remember who the other guy was. Sorry, Alex Tuck was the main veteran forward coming back, but those guys haven't been able to replicate what all that's happened is that he was able to refine his game, Eichel, and become one of the league's truly elite players, and then go on
a team that just was waiting for a guy to come back and like, we are going to kill it.
Right,
and they did.
It was already so good, but they were just missing that truly elite offensive force, right? Like they had Carlson, who was an elite shutdown center or a shutdown forward, and they had Stone, same thing, right? Like this team walked into the league drafting high-end second and third line players.
Yeah.
And it slowly worked its way out to seeing that some of these guys are first-line players, and then you augment that by adding an Eichel and removing a Tuck, who was like a very good player for this. So they can't, like, all you have to do is look at that if you're Vancouver and be like, there's no way that we can trade this guy. Like, look at your own.
And that's what it comes down to.
Yes, look at your own circumstances with guys like Brock Besser. Like, how long did this? JT Miller is another one, right? Like, how long did you sit there and talk about, we got to trade this guy? He's not doing, everything.
Is it Horvat or is it Miller?
He's slumping, right? And what was the difference between when we decided not to trade Brock Besser and decided not to trade JT Miller, and we decided to trade Bo Horvat, who was at the time at the height of his powers? We got a haul, right? We got first round draft picks. We got solid prospects, right? We basically ended up turning that into a Filip Hronek, who is a number 2 defenseman on this team and has signed a lucrative contract to be here for a long time.
Yeah.
Good luck ever getting out there to make yourself a trade for a top 2 right-handed defenseman who can play in all situations. Good luck.
So the other thing I wanted to get into on this was an earlier in the week thought, but there's all these rumors before the trade happened later in the week with like Bowen Byram and Cousins and stuff. Hear me out for a second. Let's just say, and I'm about to prove a point here. Okay, let's say you trade Elias Pettersson to Buffalo. Let's just say you did it. And you got Bowen Byram and you got Cousins and whatever else. The thing is, folks, if you're trading all of that away from Buffalo, do you think Elias Pettersson is going to single-handedly save your entire franchise after you've already traded away 2 guys that maybe aren't where you need them to be? Now your team's actually worse because you got rid of 2 guys. Yes, you're adding 1, but that's not going to help things. It'll help things, let's just say, and it won't really, but it would further things along in Vancouver. But now you're further down the road with Buffalo and you're expecting great things from Pettersson, who now has to save your franchise. That's not a great trade for either team. So why would you make a trade? Like, just a second here. Whoops, wrong button. Meant to hit the mute button, sorry. But you get a little Christmas sound. You don't make a trade like that and expect everything to just go swimmingly. You can't trade for a team that is absolutely tanking. Send Elias Pettersson down there, who's going to clearly be pissed at that point, and you're going to expect him as a Buffalo franchise to save everything. That's not going to work out well for either of you. So why would you make that trade? Like that rumor that was out there for like a week and a bit, it doesn't even make sense, let alone the players that are in it. You're just making your franchise an even worse franchise by taking things away. Not that you're adding Pettersson, that's bad. It's that you're taking stuff away from helping your cause. So Vancouver would be making the trade to help themselves. Buffalo would be making a trade to just bring anything back in. It just doesn't compute. So, that whole rumor, I just laughed the whole week. I thought, I would never make that trade, because if I'm Buffalo, things aren't getting better for me. I'm having to keep spinning my wheels and tread water. It just doesn't make sense.
Yeah, I mean, it doesn't make sense for them this season in terms of like, is it going to turn things around in Buffalo this season? Probably not. But like, if I'm Buffalo, I'm making that trade 10 out of 10 times. Like, I think this trade works out so good. You get potentially like an ace superstar player back. You know, if he ever figures it out and becomes Pettersson from, you know, halfway point of last year, this is a 100-point player. Like, there's just no way that you're going to be able to replace that production from a guy like Dylan Cousins, who had a good season 2 years ago, is on pace for like 40 points this year. Yes, he's a big center, but then you're adding that along with, like, who was the other player that they were talking about? It was Byram, right?
Yeah.
So now, like, hey, I like Byram, right? Like, but Byram's also got like some decent injury history that he's struggled with over the course of a couple of seasons now, and might not ever turn into the number one defender that we all thought Bowen Byram was going to turn into.
Exactly.
And that's just a good defender to get back. He's also a lefty. So it's not like he's overly unique in any specific way, right? How many left-handed defensemen are on this squad already? Like, there's a lot, right? Like, I
think Benson was rumored too, was another guy, Zach Benson.
He would have to come back. Like, and I don't know where you heard that from, right? And I mean, it could be a rumor for sure. It's all just rumors at this point. But like, I don't even think that was the main rumor, was the Benson thing. But if it was those three players, I mean, you could consider it more. But the team who's getting the best player back is generally the team that wins, right? But we're talking about guys like Owen Power that are on this roster, and, you know, Yoki Harju. Like, there's other very good players that they're not even discussing putting in this package for players that could come back. And to me, it's a non-starter. Buffalo makes this trade 10 out of 10 times if they're having to give up those two guys to get Elias Pettersson on the roster. Doesn't figure anything out this year. You're 100% right. It could help Vancouver this year, but in the long run, they're going to reap the rewards of having an Elias Pettersson on their roster.
Probably would. Yeah, it just seemed like such a wonky. I mean, as I said, back to this book. I crushed it in like, I think 3 hours. When you find a good book, folks, and I'm not a reader, when you find a good book, you stick to it. There are so many examples in this, and you're going to have it to read. It's totally worth it. There are so many examples to just prove a point that you can't make that trade. You can't. It's not going to help things. It'll be one of those moments where you're going to be laughed off the stage at some point, and you're going to realize, what were we even thinking? Why didn't we just, address this as grown-ups and be like, hey guys, we're still going to win a Stanley Cup. You don't necessarily have to love each other, but you're going to figure it out, and you're going to play along, and we're going to go win a cup. Yeah,
like if you're making a trade that makes you get Elias Pettersson on this squad, like, I'm sorry, but the whole conversation is starting with like Owen Power, and what else do we have to have, or Tage Thompson, like, what do we have to add with Pettersson to get this done?
Yeah, if he's leaving, you have to win that trade if you're the Canucks.
Yeah, and they're going to be like, there's no way we're trading a star player. I'm like, great, well, there's no way we're trading a star player anyway, so thanks for coming out.
Yeah, I got to go to lunch. See you later. It just seems
obviously like knowing that they would never do that, but you're saying that so that you can be like, no, it's not happening, right? If you're willing to talk about those players, then I'm willing to talk about this player.
There's one trade I can't remember which one they were talking about in the book. Brian Burke was saying that kind of you have to make the trade that everyone has to know that you won it. Like, there has to be no doubt that you won the trade, that there's no debate. So why would you do that? Yeah, Pettersson's not, like, something's up. He's not like elite Petey. He's not the alien that we remember. And that happens. I mean, he had a great start, and that happens to a lot of players. Can he refine his touch? Probably. I mean, I think he's had the chances. The points are still coming in. But to just go off and say, we got to make this trade, that shouldn't be the first guy you're thinking about trading to get things right on this team. Like, if that's what you're thinking, you can't be the GM. Like, there's other players you can make this. You can trade away other guys. You can trade away a first round draft pick again if you have to make something work. But I'm sorry, there's too much talent on that core four, whatever you want to call it, to mess things up and try to shake it up to make it. Unless you got some crazy idea on how it's going to work out, you better be getting an absolute haul that no one's even going to question. Be like, well, we lost Petey, but look at what we got in return.
Well,
like, there has to be no doubt.
It has to happen. The fan base has to be like, you had to do that. You had to make that trade. Like, oh my God, we got back, right? Like, what happens after this year when you want to make playoff runs because Quinn Hughes is in the absolute like apex, top predator in the system right now, out there just destroying, and
he's Allen Iverson on hockey skates.
Yeah, and then your best forward is it's just JT Miller. How long is your window open? No offense to JT, but I mean he's not going to get better, right? He's going to be good. Yeah, but like, can you make long playoff runs with your best forward, your best center, number one line center at like 32, 33 years of age? Like, I just don't know. I think for the long run, that Miller has to turn into a complementary piece, and you need a number one guy. And there's only one man with that potential on the roster right now, and that's Elias Pettersson. Yeah.
And I think the other thing that we look at too, and it's not just the offense up front, but it's what's going on in the back end. Like Filip Hronek, do we see him again this season? Like, I don't think, unfortunately, this isn't a season where you kind of go all in. Like last year, it was kind of an all-in kind of season. This year, you can't, I don't think anyway, do the same things and expect to get a very similar result because you have less than you do last year. You don't have a Filip Hronek to carry you through. If he gets healthy and then can make his way back, then our defense gets better. But the current defense that they have, there's no way that this team's even going to be remotely close to what it was last year because you don't have a Zadorov that was going off and you don't have a Lindholm that got really good towards the end of the season. There's different talent this year, but you would have to have some great complementary talent come on both the back end and, again, something up front. And this isn't that kind of a year to go all in when you don't even really know what you have in the first place. If you knew what you had, if like last year, we knew the Canucks knew what they had. They had a pretty good team that was, well, they were overperforming and everything was working out. There was no injuries. Everything was going perfect. Well, you can go in on a year like that. Things are very different this year. If it was me, I mean, yeah, I would want to better the team long-term for sure and maybe try to make a run next year. But there's just not enough there to say that this is the season where we should be making crazy trades either. Like, I think we need to kind of temper things a little bit because it kind of has to be a bit of a long, like there's a window, but the window is just opening. I mean, it's going to be a short one, but if it was a 3-year window, year one, we shouldn't be doing crazy things. Year two, let's figure out what we've got, maybe make some crazy moves, but I don't think we should be reactionary right now. I don't think.
Yeah, it's at the moment it kind of looks like a good collection of players, right? Like there's some nice players on this roster that will allow you to do good things. And I think the difference between last year and this year, I think is, aside from everybody, having really like almost breakout or defining seasons to sort of bring themselves up to that level. And I think that was sort of all catered in with the fact that this team was healthy. Yeah. Like it was healthy, like pretty much wire to wire, right? Yeah. Like that never happens. That certainly doesn't happen in Vancouver.
And that's why they went all in on it.
And totally. And I think with the amount of injuries and like really pivotal ones to start this season off, right?
Yeah.
They haven't had the ability to really gel this roster. It's kind of like, I mean, we've talked about this before, like an offensive line being able to be together all through training camp and then preseason. And then you had, 8 months of the year prior for that continuity. They haven't had that, right? It's been next man up. Let's fill this spot, like fill this role, and guys are coming back. And it's had to have been really those long-term players like the Connor Garlands of the world sort of running these lines, and guys like Kiefer Sherwood, we talked about it earlier, having to step up more. But losing Hronek, not starting the season with Demko. I mean,
Joshua.
JT Miller being out, Dakota Joshua wasn't there. Like Joshua is back now. I feel like he's just recently started to find his game, like the last 3 or 4 games.
Yeah, you can see a bit.
Back. Demko's looked really good upon his return, like better than I think we thought he would have looked. And I think that's part of the reason why they took so long, right? Miller's finally back in the lineup. Like he's starting to play, right? He's not on the point, I don't think, where he's really starting to ramp his game up yet. I'm not seeing that. I think he's still great. He can get out there and bang, but like he's not the JT Miller that we saw prior to this, right? And I think,
and just to add something, and I'm going to let you keep going. Yeah. I also think that not everybody's on the same page right now either.
That's the continuity thing. But so like we're getting these pieces back, and they're starting to find their game, right? But timing wise, it's just coming at the end of Christmas, right?
Yeah.
Like if all of those guys were hurt through the preseason and we started the season off, and now we're getting these players back 2-3 weeks ago, and we're starting to find their game now, then management can make that decision. At this point, they haven't been going for long enough to find that continuity. They haven't been able to get in there and really cook yet because this team hasn't been together with all its parts.
Yeah.
And so that's like an incredible detriment in terms of just overall team health has really impacted how early we can decide to make some of these moves. And to your point, Ryan, I don't think they can decide on anything yet because they don't have all the data, and they're not going to have that data for another couple of weeks past Christmas. And that's okay. I think if the team can make trades, let's see, February after another month and a bit of data, then I think that's fine. That's still super early, but we'll know in the next month and a half here what kind of squad this is once the guys start coming back.
So here's one more thing I want to add, and this is me being me. Let's say they make the Pettersson trade. Here's what you're going to do. You're going to make this trade right before the Four Nations Cup. JT Miller is going to be very excited. It's going to be USA versus Sweden, and he's going to get he's going to get his flowers as he goes, and he gets one opportunity to take out Pettersson because now they're not teammates anymore. It's not going to happen. I'm just playing around. But I was thinking.
Yeah. Who knows? You guys are going to use that as the tune-up, right? They're going to use this time for over Christmas or Four Nations.
Yeah.
This will be another reset throughout the season, right?
Yeah. So I think now here's another interesting question I just thought of. So you bring that up about going into February. Do you see a scenario where the Canucks kind of go, and now hear me out, where they kind of go on like the St. Louis run, where things just like click? And I'm not saying that they go on what St. Louis did when they won the cup, but that kind of a run where things just like, we got it figured out. We're all on the same page. Things are about to roll here. Like, for what you see with this team right now, if things were clicking with what they've got, and maybe Hronek, like I said, does come back this season, do you see a scenario where the Canucks actually can make something of this and it's worth putting an all-in kind of stamp on this one?
100%. Like, yeah. and I, you know me, I'm generally kind of like on the negative end of the spectrum when I think about how good this team can be. But this team has the pieces to go on a run, and I think that's why this next month of them slowly getting all their pieces back, and then everybody getting on track and starting to ramp things back up. They have to stay healthy, obviously, right?
Yeah.
But the pieces are all there for them to go on a run. Like, imagine peak Demko comes back, he finds his game. He doesn't have to play all the time. You've got Lankinen, who's also shown that he can be a top 10 goalie in this league. And then you somehow get that line back together with Dakota Joshua and Connor Garland, which really stabilizes the third spot.
And PDG.
PDG, that's a fun one too. Like, that's a good depth guy to have, right?
Yeah.
But say like that line really gets rolling, and then Kiefer Sherwood continues what he's doing, right? And then at some point, Pettersson figures it out, or even if he's even playing at the level that he is right now, that's still better than he was at towards the end of last year and in the playoffs. Okay. And then Miller comes back and gets going at a similar clip to what he was going at last year. He's probably, like an 85 clip guy, which is great. I think you can have your top two centers making, 75 points and, 85 points or something like that.
That's still pretty respectable.
That's pretty respectable, right? And I think that even guys like Max Sasson helping out on the fourth line, you've really found some players there, right? The problem with this squad will be, I think, less about the fact that they can, if everybody continues to ramp up and they can find that continuity, is that they need another piece defensively. Mm-hmm. There's something going on there.
That's the smoking gun right there. That's it.
Like Soucy's playing better. Once Myers' minutes start to come back down and Hronek's back in the lineup and he continues to slowly ramp up, say he comes back, right? Like, I think that'll really even everything out. And I think they're one good defender away from making this happen. And I think they're really missing what Zadorov brought to the table and sort of that stability.
That was their game changer last year because it allowed all the other guys to do their stuff, right?
Yeah, Cole was the other piece, right? I mean, everybody dogged on Cole for what happened in Edmonton, but you forget about how much of a stabilizing force he was between actually like basically wire to wire.
Mm-hmm.
Other than just that bad, he had bad 3 games in the series, right? He was excellent against the Nashville team, but just got exposed on a couple of things. Everything was going off, right? Like it didn't work out, and he's been the type of player that this team is missing, along with that edge from Zadorov.
So apparently my page is freezing here. Am I still here? No? Am I not here?
You're here, bud.
Frick.
I got you.
Oh, okay, good. I'm trying to get off of the Puckpedia page to get back to our show. I was just looking for like a defenseman that the Canucks could go after that would kind of make sense. Is there someone out there that you're thinking like maybe the Canucks can actually make a move and try to get something added that might cost you like a first rounder or something that they can make a splash, still be okay, and keep working with what they have? Like, is there somebody that kind of stands out to you?
Oh no, I'm not loading up very good here. Hang on.
My internet has decided to not help me out. This sucks. I can't get back to our screen. You can see me. I can't see a thing.
I guess I just don't know. Like, I don't know who's available, right? Like,
right.
I think there's like some decent players out there that you can go get your hands on, and I don't want to pay a huge ton for some of these guys, but like, everybody talks about Pettersson coming out of Buffalo. Like, that wouldn't be the guy that I would want. I mean, I would rather they go and pay a little less and try to target a guy like Yogi Harju, right? I mean,
right.
He's a right-handed defender. He plays a bit of a two-way game. He's a solid plus player. He logs between 20 and 18 minutes every season. Like, I think you're getting back to those mobile guys. I know that this squad likes the bigger defenders though. So I don't know. I'm like out of touch on what I think they would go for and what would be available. But I mean, I'm open to hearing names, and then you can make like a bit of an assessment on whether these would be valuable players or not for us.
I can see the screen again. This is great. I've been waiting. I'm like, just patiently come back. Yeah, I don't know. Like, do you go and like, where's Ottawa at? Like, is like a Thomas Chabot kind of an option? Like, can they make something crazy happen over there?
I just don't think that they. Like, but what do you have to give up to get a Chabot though? Like,
well, I guess that's the other thing. I'm going to get rid of this page because it's going to end up screwing me here. I don't know. I'm not the best guy at putting these trades together, but I do believe like they can go after like, who have we been watching lately?
Like Rasmus Andersson.
Yeah.
That's a guy. Obviously, they've talked about Marcus Pettersson. Like, I'm looking at just some of these articles. Matt Grzelcyk. Provorov, which is, I mean,
Provorov's been rumored a lot. I mean, he would kind of be of the ilk of like Zadorov. I think Provorov would be a possibility.
Yeah, they might like Provorov, right? I mean, Will Borgen is another guy that's been, they've talked about before. Dante Fabro, there's always going to be a connection with him coming back to BC.
But didn't Fabro already get traded? Or did he not?
Well, I'm not sure. This was a month ago, this one here.
Okay.
And then there's like the guys that they kind of get rumored to every once in a while, like the Nick Hagues of the world and the Gavrikovs and those types of guys, right? Like, I would kind of like them to. It would be nicer if they could somehow go out and find a Zadorov type, right?
I think we were just so spoiled with that pick, like with that trade, that now we're comparing, like, because that was such a great pickup. It did everything. It kind of tailed out the end, but for 90% of the season when we had him, like, he was an absolute game breaker for this team.
And he was a game breaker into the playoffs too, right? Like, he was good. He was good for this team. It was what this team was missing. It was what they needed. I think that would make kind of a Gavrikov thing fun too. I mean, Grant says with Albion and Rutherford, it's almost for sure going to be someone out of left field, and I agree with that. I think that's why he's bang on with this. I think that's why none of us know when we're sort of like speculating which players can come back, right? Like I don't know. I don't know what they covet at this time.
That's interesting.
What was the, somehow we made the trade we did, and we got this little Swedish defenseman who was formerly a highly rated guy who was like, rumored to be a guy that we had to take.
Yeah.
In the last deal, and now he's playing meaningful minutes for the squad. It makes me wonder, did they ask for him specifically because they thought they could do something with him? And nobody would have seen that happening, right?
Yeah. Yep. So, you know what this podcast needs, though, Ted? It needs a DraftKings Pick 6 ad read.
Mm-hmm.
Are you ready for me to do this live?
Rich.
So have you been doing any parlays or anything lately?
Yeah, I got into it. Yeah,
have you?
Yeah.
So this has nothing
yet, though.
This has nothing to do with parlays. It's, well, in a way, I guess it kind of is. But here's basically what you need to do. Watching your favorite NHL players is the gift that keeps on giving. Now, I think we can all give this gift. Playing Pick 6 from DraftKings, an official partner of the NHL, is a way to take a shot at even more cash prizes. Download the DraftKings Pick 6 app. There's an app. It's that easy. You just click on it on your phone and select 2 or more players and choose if they'll have more or less of a stat. So like shots, that's an easy one. That's one we can all play along with. Or if you're so inclined to do goals or maybe assists, goals is probably an easy one too. Pick 6. It's available in most states, including California, Texas, Georgia, Missouri, and more. Now, we're not a state yet, but it could be included. It could be included here. And speaking of gifts, new Pick 6 customers play $5 and you're going to get $50 in Pick 6 credits. So here's what you got to do. Download the DraftKings Pick 6 app right now and use code THPN. That's the name of our network, the Hockey Podcast Network, THPN. That's code THPN for new customers to play $5, get $50 in Pick 6 credits. Happy holidays from DraftKings Pick 6. The crown is yours. Gambling problem? Call 1-800-GAMBLER. Help is available for problem gambling. Call 888-789-7777 or visit ccpg.org in Connecticut. We're not there. Must be 18 plus. Age and eligibility restrictions vary by jurisdiction. Pick 6 is not available everywhere, including New York and Ontario. Void where prohibited. 1 per new customer. Bonus awarded as a non-withdrawable Pick 6 credits that expire in 30 days. Limited time offer. See terms at pick6.draftkings.com/promos. Folks,
wow,
you can't go wrong. I've used this on other apps. It is a great feature. I suck at it, but it's a great thing. And it makes it fun because you can follow all these different games. You just pick 6 things and you're done. Anyway, welcome to hockey. I want to talk about Christmas because it's a Christmas show, and I think sometimes we get a little too serious on the show, Ted. We're talking about trades and changing the Canucks, and that scares me sometimes. But it doesn't scare me, Christmas. I mean, it kind of scares me a little bit.
Kind of scary.
Yeah, it's a little bit scary. So we normally do, like last year, what did we do? We had do we put a Christmas? Didn't we had an ornament, like a Canucks ornament? We decided people to call in. Do little ornaments. This year, we're going to keep it simple. It's a you and me thing. Grant, you're here too, so I'll allow you to throw in something. Growing up, you love sports. You got your wish list. You've gone through the wish book. You've gone through other stuff. You've seen stuff at, maybe you went down in Vancouver and you went to Winning Spirit, or you went to, what was it? Sport Mart, not Sport Check. You went to Sport Mart or, Shoestrings or whatever those places are called, and you saw something on the rack. You're like, man, I gotta have that for Christmas. I gotta see.
It's like a Champs guy. I like Champs.
Okay, so Champs, that's fair too. Yeah. Foot Locker. What was like clothing or maybe multiple clothing items that you were hoping would be under the tree?
Say one more thing. Say again.
So like, what did you have on your wish list that you were hoping to see? Like a sports clothing-ish item.
Okay.
Or I mean, I'll flex it out if there's maybe a hockey stick or pads because you were a goalie at one time.
No, I got you. What have
been a couple things that you were just like, man?
So just the classic 3-stripe Adidas tracksuit. That would have been a big one. Some tearaways.
Oh yes. Now I got to bring this up. Was there a specific brand of tearaways? Because at the time when those came out, there's a few brands that dominated the market.
Yeah, it's Adidas ones. Like I was
Adidas one.
That's what I would. Maybe I think like Umbro had some as well, but it would have been Adidas. Just like it was all about the 3 stripes, right?
You're the 3 stripes because they kind of made a big comeback when we were in high school. Remember?
Yeah. So
that's when Adidas really came back.
I have a bunch of this stuff, so I don't know how long you want me to go here, but
dude, this is like we're pretty much run the course for the hockey portion. So let's go.
Really, really wanted, and actually was lucky enough to get my hands on a Georgetown Hoyas starter jacket.
Here we go.
So that would have been a really good one. A starter 90s mid Charlotte Hornets hat. That would have been a big one.
And you're killing it.
When I was a kid. Oh, obviously, like badly wanted a pair of like Reebok pumps. Prior to that, there have been some.
I never had those, but now I have money and they're expensive. Have you seen the shoe that has like the 6 pumps on it?
No, it seems like crazy talk.
I know, and I need it.
So some LA Lights prior to that. You remember those?
Yep.
Really wanted some LA Lights. I wanted like a UNLV hat back in the day.
Wow. Yeah.
And
college really did stuff to us back then, even when like we didn't get to see a lot of it.
No.
Like it's way more prevalent now than it was back then.
Yeah. Damn.
You got a good list though. That's good.
I just think the classic Jordan long sleeve would have been like way too big for you, Jordan long sleeve. Like, what am I doing at 13 years old wearing like a men's large long sleeve?
Oh, gotcha. Yeah, the oversized long sleeve. That's good. So I always wanted the starter jackets also. Now my cousin, like it worked out in a weird way that I got his hand-me-downs. He was a year older than me, but he got some really cool stuff. So I just like waited things out a year and I usually got it. So I got the Mighty Ducks starter jacket. Wore that thing into the ground. It was perfect. Like, purple. I mean, what are we doing wearing purple? But honestly, you got the big Mighty Ducks down there. That was pretty cool. Always wanted a Canucks one. You can get them now, but it just hits different, I think, unfortunately. Do you remember the hats that had the strings at the back? Like the 2 colored strings? Did you ever see those?
No.
So I was trying to find in my parents' house because my aunt got me a Sharks one, which I don't even know why. Like it just came. She must have thought that it looked aggressive and stuff. I'm like, all right, I got a San Jose Sharks hat. And then I did get a Canucks one. So what it was, like it said Canucks. I'll just use the Canucks one. It was a gray hat, like a heather gray kind of hat. And it said Canucks across the crown. But behind the word Canucks was the skate logo, like kind of embedded behind it. And then on the back, it had one of like, the bomb igniters for the drawstrings. The thing, right?
Yeah.
And then it was black and yellow, like, would you call it like cords or laces? I guess I'm not sure.
Yeah.
That was how you tightened it. It was like a fitted hat in a sense, basically, but a cord. And they were
by this cord thing. I'm gonna have to do some homework.
It was so cool. Now the downside is if you wore it to school, usually kids would try to steal it from you and whip you with it because it became a weapon. So imagine getting whipped with laces. Doesn't feel good, but such a cool hat. That was one of my absolute favorites. The tearaways were definitely something that came up. I ended up getting, because I don't think my parents quite knew like what to get because I wasn't quite sure because tearaways really ranged in price, right? So I ended up buying my own. I got starter ones, which were pretty sweet. And again, same thing with tearaways. We all know how those went realistically. Not the greatest idea for casual pants. Definitely made for the NBA and playing basketball, not for walking around in middle school when people can easily just rip them off your pants.
100% no, yeah.
Great idea. Now, as an adult, not a terrible idea. Like, you know what I'm saying? Yeah, those would be one I would say. So one of my big ones was the gray Nike hoodie with the little stitched black check. Just everyone had one.
Okay,
it was just like heather gray, plain Jane Nike hoodie. I had that thing for so long. I don't even know how it lasted as long as it did. But I don't know if we had already been married when that thing finally left our family. So I had the thing from like grade 8 till and it was just a roomy hoodie, and it was so well built. Good job, Nike.
My dad had there was two kinds of starter jackets that were out. If you remember, like the classic,
yes.
the Bulls starter jacket, like that.
Yeah.
And then they came out like a version 2 starter jacket as well,
mm-hmm.
which just had it was the same one, like the pullover with the zips on the side, and you have the pouch pocket in the front, the big hood, right? You know the one.
Yeah.
So they came out with a version 2 of that, and so that was the version of the Hoyas jacket that I got.
Okay.
And then I think my mom got I don't know. I think she might have got like a Leafs jacket, or my sister got a Leafs jacket. And, anyways, my dad got the Canucks skate logo jacket.
Yeah.
And he still has it to this day, and it is like minty. It is absolutely perfect. I'm going to borrow it off, and I'm going to wear it on one of these pods so you can just see it. It's just, I think I might just borrow it off him anyway so that I can just start wearing it around town because all that stuff is good. Again, it's gold, right?
Did you ever get did your parents ever get stuff? Like, did your dad ever get like a shirt or something that you thought was way cooler and that he didn't deserve to have that because you should have gotten it? Did you ever have that?
It was the jacket.
I guess the jacket would have been it. Yeah.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah,
my dad was pretty plain.
My dad,
he was like all just like he just wanted like the classic one color shirt, that type of stuff, right? But when he got this jacket, I was like, whoa. Yeah, it's good stuff. Yeah.
You stepped your game up.
Yeah.
My dad, he still has it, and I'm trying to find a way to steal this at some point. It holds. It has like this invisible force field around this shirt that he got. So it's a Canucks shirt, obviously, but it has kind of like script and it just says Vancouver Canucks, and it's got it's black, and then it has like right under like the sleeve cuff, like just a little bit of like a gray layer that goes underneath. Like it's this classy looking black t-shirt, simple little skate logo at the end. And I always wanted to wear it, but it was like a nice t-shirt. Like I don't know how you say that, but it was like a classy, it was like a dressy t-shirt, and like it sits in the basement, and I want to take it so bad, but every time I grab it and I'm down in the basement, I grab it, I'm like, I get grief, and I just I can't. It's like taking like the what's it called from the Indiana Jones, like from the Temple of Doom. It's like pulling it off the thing. I'm like, if I take this, bad things are gonna happen. So it just sits there, and I could just ask him, and he'd probably still say no, but I could just take it, and it'd be fine. My
dad did have like a vintage Astros jersey.
Oh, like Nolan Ryan
with the like the orange with the white on top, and then like the yellow and right. And so like the candy corn one.
Yes.
So I actually did I do remember stealing that from him. It didn't fit him anymore. He was not interested in it. So I did steal that from him, and I would rock it with a long sleeve shirt under.
And you felt like a boss.
I did. I was it's just, I was final boss at that stage.
You felt like an absolute boss.
Yeah. And go ahead.
Oh, you can finish up and I'll get this one.
I would always pair it with my Hornets hat, which just didn't make any sense, but yeah.
But you just you wanted to flex as hard as you could. Yeah. Yeah. That's what you did. You wore you just wore the best stuff you had. And even if it clashed, you're like, this is all the best stuff I have. Yeah. Grant says, still have a vintage NHL pencil tin. It has all my small life keepsakes in it. I love it. Used to have smelly stickers on it. Smelly stickers. Remember the big ones that smelled like popcorn or like peanut butter? They got to bring those back. I think there's a market for that.
Yeah.
I don't even care. There's so many cool new smells that are out there now. Sriracha. Sriracha. I think they should bring back those vintagey up? We're back. I'm back. I don't know what happened there. I hope everything went well while I was gone. I don't even know. There you go. You probably just got my text now. We're good. Yeah.
Like that.
Hey, we're back. Yeah. So clearly we're playing with borrowed time at this point. So yeah, hoodies, pullovers, Canucks stuff. Do you have a gift that you're going to ask for? We'll finish on this. What's the gift you're asking for this year, Ted? I mean, you just got a PS5, so you really don't need it.
No, I think I'm good. Like, honestly.
Underwear?
You know, I would like, so I just like recently did like I don't know, 6 hours of chopping yesterday, like dicing. It was doing Christmas present stuff. And like, you know, it would be really handy for me. Like every time I would chop my stuff, I feel like I have a pretty nice knife. So I would scrape it across the wooden board to start piling my stuff up, like the diced garlic or peppers or onions or whatever, or shallots. Yeah. And I would like one of like, I don't even know what they're called, but it's like stainless steel or whatever edge. And it's got like a handle that runs across the top, and you use that to scrape your stuff up and scrape it into your bowls. And I don't even know what that thing is called. I would like one of those.
A scraper bowler thing.
I would like a food
I'm gonna
prep
Google
scraper.
Yeah. Food prep,
like a nice
scraper.
one, like a nice one, or like I'm getting older, right? Obviously, I'd like a cutting board that has like the moat drilled in it.
Oh man, I got
outside.
Now I got a free one if you want one.
Yeah, I like it. I want it.
We've got a few. I probably don't. I probably don't need to have multiple. I'll see if I can
like a nice wooden cutting board, right? So because I cook a lot of roasts and
you need the moat.
Yeah, and I need the moat for when I start cutting it, that the blood has somewhere to go, the juices.
Yeah. We've got a few of those. They're great. I'm not gonna lie. I'm gonna like heavy flex it. We just use them as cutting boards. Sometimes I just use them and cut up.
Also, stuff. Grant just let us know that his wife still works in education, and that smelly sticker still. This is the best.
But the OG ones, Grant, that's the question. It's the OG ones. Like they have to be like the old looking ones. Like they have to be the original smells, and you add a few new ones.
Yeah. Just say it. Purple. You leave.
Yeah. Purple. What's it smell like? It
smells like purple.
Smells like purple. That's good. That's good. I love it. I'm going to ask for a new mustache brush because I'm pretty sure it's stolen for the girl's hair or something. So
okay.
I don't even know. Like it's a weird thing going on in our house right now. I'm like, does anyone know where my only mustache brush is that has never moved since it's been in our house? Something about curls or something I don't know. We got a weird thing going on here. Before I get kicked out of Wi-Fi, which I doubt it'll happen twice, but who knows? Ted, this has been a great show. We had a lot of fun. We somehow got an hour in, which I don't think we had planned, but we all say that. We're ready to have some time off. You got holidays. You're on holidays currently. I'm about to be in a couple days. It's gonna be a good time. You got any big plans for Christmas, or just hanging out, or what?
Just chilling, I think, right? I think my brother is going to be down from Salmon Arm with their new baby, who's about a month old. So it'll be great to spend some time with little August.
Beautiful.
Yeah, it's got a summer name, so I already love him a little bit more. And I think we're going to get some time to spend with him on Boxing Day, maybe the day after. So we're going to do Christmas up here, but it's going to be super cash.
Love it, man.
We need a little bit of a break. It'll be good.
Oh, I can't wait. I cannot wait for just the holidays. I need to wake up late, have a late cup of coffee, just chill. I can't wait. It's going to be great. Folks, this has been our show. It's the PP1 Podcast. We're not coming back till the new year. I'm off. You're off. We're going to take a break. Everybody else is off, so it's fine. Hockey Podcast Network, thank you so much for hosting us this year. It's been a lot of fun. DraftKings, Pick 6, Game Time. We appreciate all your help for helping us put a little extra cheddar in the bank account. And Grant, and all of our listeners, viewers, followers, thank you guys so much. We're in year 6 of this thing. I can't believe it. Jason Botchford had passed, and I said to Ted, I'm like, I feel like we need to add our voice to this. And I'm so thankful that we have this show, because sometimes it's a nice escape to just talk Canucks and whatever the heck else we want. And fun. Exactly. No roster moves on the PP1 podcast until after Christmas. That's right. Yeah, we're on a roster freeze too. So on behalf of my boy Ted, I'm Ryan. This is PP1 Podcast. Merry Christmas. Happy New Year. Peace.